Hey Ubers, Vivian here. I just wanted to share with you a project I just finished. It's using a Where Women Cook die from Sizzix, number 659942. It's a beautiful little hexagon box. Um, and I'm going to use this die to package up some seeds from my Las Vegas garden before we pack up and head on out. I'm using a piece of Strathmore Bristol vellum, and with this one piece of paper, I'll be able to cut out my entire box. I'm also using a stencil from ClearSnap called Bloom, I believe. I have a video tutorial on this technique already on my YouTube channel, Contadina K. It's called Using Gesso as a Resist. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just painting in gesso, a very light coat of gesso, into the spaces of this stencil. Being careful not to be globby about it because it'll get underneath those fine lines of this design. And by doing this, it's going to create a differential in the way that media absorbs onto the paper surface. So the areas that don't have gesso will absorb more pigment, and the areas that do have gesso will absorb less. And this applies to watercolors and the colored mists that I'm going to be using for today's tutorial. So because this design is really tight in the center, I thought it might make for really beautiful dramatic contrast to have a darker, more intense pigment in the center of each blossom and radiate outward with a lighter color. To help these colors blend together, I made sure to spritz very well with water before adding these colors. And for these blossoms, I used color box spritzers in Grasshopper in the center and a Smooch Spritz from ClearSnap in Citrus Tickle along the outside. And as you can see here, I'm adding lots of water to help all of these colors blend seamlessly. I'm going to package up my beautiful white hollyhock seed heads into boxes made with this color pattern, color scheme. And I'll show you guys later in the video, in case you're interested. At the very end, I'll show you what these look like in the garden right now. I'm also going to package up some seeds of a black scabiosa that has reseeded itself very happily in our desert garden. It's quite dramatic. It's not completely black. There are tinges of black and it's kind of maroon. So I'm using a color scheme for those boxes, which have Smooch Spritz in black velvet in the center, which is black, a little bit of a shimmery black. And along the edges, I'm blending in a Smooch Spritz in wineberry, which actually very closely mimics the color of my black scabiosa, which I'll show you guys at the end of the video. So to make these pretty little hexagon boxes from the Where Women Cook collection, you're going to want to use one acrylic plate, place your die on top, and center your pretty mixed media paper on top. And then on the very top of your sandwich, you want to put a crease pad. For best results, that is what Sizzix suggests. And this cuts your die cut, and it also leaves those impressions, those score lines, so you can very easily fold back those tabs to make your box. So I'm going to have that flower pattern on the top, and on the bottom I just have a very basic piece that's it's just misted. And you use the same die cut for both the top and the bottom. So your cutting pad on the bottom, your acrylic cutting pad, your Biggs type die, your paper or pattern paper or your mixed media paper, and your crease pad on top. The crease pad is helpful when you have a die that has cuts, a Biggs die that has cuts, and also has score lines. So I've got my two pieces. They're the exact same die cut, but different patterns. The one on the left, I just used bubble wrap to make a quick pattern, and the one on the right has my stenciled design. I also stamped what it is that I'm going to put in there. And whichever piece that you decide to make your top piece, you're going to want to identify the trapezoidal little tab. So my top piece is the one on the top here. And see that little trapezoidal piece? you're going to want to put some adhesive on there, and then find the square tab on the bottom. See that square tab? And then attach those together like that. And lay that trapezoidal piece on top of the square piece. And then you flip it over and take all the tabs of your bottom piece of the box and push them in. And then take all the tabs from your top piece and insert them into the holes that have already been die cut in that one pass through your Sizzix Big Shot. So because I'm a gardening enthusiast, I'm going to be putting a variety of seeds into packages that I handmade like this. But I think you could use them for a whole bunch of different things. So that's the opening there. And if you want to make it easier for your recipient to know where the opening is, you could stamp a little indicator to show where that is. But here are my black scabiosa seed heads. And there are just a ton of seeds in each one of those. That was a blossom. And I've got lots of seeds. And if you have friends that don't have much of a green thumb, these are great because they really reseed themselves. They've just shown up in my garden year after year, and they helicopter themselves down into the soil. Aren't they cool? And create a little habitat for pollinators and also provide some really easy beauty. So if you've got an area of the garden that you just want to fill up, these are great. And I'm just going to shove those in there and then close my box and wrap it up with a little bit of twine. You could package up little knickknacks, little crafty items for your crafty friends, buttons or gems or different embellishments. And if you're a baker or if you have friends who like sweets, you could package up some cookies, individual cookies as favors. So I'm going to package up the white hollyhock seed heads into the boxes that I have the sort of lime green and white color scheme. Although I really like the blossoms, the seed heads are actually just as interesting to me. There are several seeds in here, and they're all oriented like the spokes of a wheel. So it's a radial orientation, and they're just so cool to me. I could crush these up and put them in the box individually, but I really love the way they look when they are on the plant like this. So I'm just going to throw the whole seed head in there. But look at that. So each one of those is a seed. And these are biennial, so they will start growing one year and then flower and go to seed free the next year. These have also been very, very easy for us. They've reseeded themselves basically on their own because we're not here for most of the year. So if you've got an area of the garden that you'd like to fill up and provide some food and nectar for the bees and seeds for the birds to eat during the colder months, you could just let those do their own thing in a corner of your yard. I really like how these colors turned out, that lime green pop. And I actually think these colors together, these purples and these lime greens together, are really nice. And here I stamped some labels using Colorbox Fawn Chalk Ink, F-A-W-N. So it's November in our garden in the desert, and this is the black scabiosa. It's not quite black, although the very center looks almost black. But look at all of the seeds that it has produced. And I have a lot of admiration for these plants because not only do they survive in this extreme climate here in the desert, they thrive. So you can see the blossom here. The center looks black. And that's just before all the petals pop open. So that looks very black. I think the leaves on these hollyhocks are just as interesting to me as the white flowers. They're big and round, and here are the beautiful pure white blossoms. You can probably see all these little spines. Those can be very irritating on your skin, so you might want to just let them go in a corner of your yard. They get tall. They can get to be like 6 feet tall, so they're nice for the back of the cottage garden. And here are some blossoms that are just about to open, and it's already November here, mid-November. And here are some of the seed heads. I think there's something really beautiful about packaging up heirloom seed of plants that have grown in your garden oasis, that have given you joy and have fed the birds and the bees in your garden, and giving them as a gift for someone else to enjoy. And in the process, doing your part to help preserve plant diversity. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.